Cadillac Unscripted is sponsored by Independent Bank and Marianne Quist of Remax Central. This is Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY. Katy, Huckle with me. I am Rich Spicer, and you can't do a show without talking about the coronavirus.
Absolutely.
We a couple weeks ago, we did a show with a couple of your real estate friends, and I think they understand that they're going to get bumped for a week or two or three or four or however many it takes. So our special guest on this show is Cadillac Area Public Schools Superintendent Jennifer Brown.
Welcome, Jen.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
So you are in charge. You make decisions. This is your job. You make decisions. You're in charge. And you're like the rest of us right now because you have no control. Am I right?
Right.
With new things coming at you almost every hour, right?
We just had a press conference with President Trump. So yes, everything is changing. It's a landscape that's unpredictable.
And unprecedented.
Unprecedented, yes.
We've never seen anything like this before. So in a broad sense, let's have you offer your perspective from a school administrator's view. What's going on? And then we'll get to more specific questions as we go.
Sure. So as we navigate these uncharted waters, we are responding to these challenges, and we're also trying to be preventative and plan for the unknown. So right now, our focus, our number one priority was to make sure that our kids and our families had food. I mean, that's an essential function of the school. We provide 2 square meals for our kids every day. So we are busy preparing meals, over 1,000 served every day, breakfast and lunch, and we just delivered today food for the weekend. So we have that system working in partnership with Chartwells and volunteers, working incredibly well. So we're excited about being able to meet our number one priority right out of the gate with really great participation from our families, but also volunteers. So that was great.
I will tell you, I've been through the line a couple of times, and I have never seen such cheerfulness, such willingness and happiness to serve others. It's inspiring to see that go on right now.
That comes from the top, Jen. It does.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and I have said this probably hundreds of times. We have an incredible team at CAPS, and we live in an incredible community that really just rolls their sleeves up. So when we face adversity or challenge, I could not be more proud and humble to lead the district, but also to be in a community that does put, others before self. And I think that is exemplified in how we've been able to respond to this crisis. So we have great, and with great spirits, which is providing hope, right? I think that's the most important thing in these times, not to lose sight of hope, that we will get through this and we'll be stronger for it, and to help each other out and to check in on each other. So
people need to see smiling faces and hear uplifting words right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they certainly do.
So Jen, question for you. I know you have fire drills and you have bomb drills and you have officers, I think an officer in the school, and you have disaster management programs set up and ready to execute. Were you ready for this?
No. Well, quite honestly, no.
Yeah.
We do have an emergency operations plan. We have crisis teams in every building, a district level crisis team, and communication platforms are set up for emergencies, nothing as specific as this. We do have shelter in place drills. So if this were to happen while kids were with us, what would we do? But no, this is definitely unprecedented, and we're just responding with the guidance that we're getting, like everyone else, on the hour. Our morning is different from our afternoon, but I do think the ability for large systems, in both national and state, to provide guidance and information at a pretty quick rate has been pretty impressive. So we have been getting information daily. We are providing the information when relevant to our stakeholders. But again, our priorities have been food. Our staff have been incredible with providing families educational resources that are not required, not graded, but we do understand the challenge of sending all of our kids home, me included as a parent, with not a lot for them to do. So I know that has helped to keep my own children in an educational routine at home, which is really important, not only just for their learning, but also just for managing a home environment that is unprecedented as well.
And anxiety, Jen. I mean, the kids are anxious too. So if you keep them busy, right? Right.
Keep them not thinking about getting sick. That we did have some of our youngsters really worried about getting sick, and we overthought that to think about what would they do. But yeah, I think our mental health is a priority. We're checking in with kids. Our counselors are doing great work with that, but not to overlook the impact this will have on some of our youngest children. They just don't know.
Yes.
So that is pretty important.
I have been avoiding turning on the news. I've got a 9-year-old and an 8-year-old at home, and they don't really understand what's going on, and I don't really. Maybe you can give us some sort of guidance as to what the ideal age is to actually have them pay attention to the news and the things that are going on, because at 8 or 9 and earlier, your life is insular. You don't know how to respond to these kinds of things. So
how much do they need to know?
Right. So I'm not an expert in child psychology, but I do have an 9-year-old, just turned 9, and I'll tell you that every child is different. So I think you have to use your best judgment as a parent to calm. I don't think it does anyone good to raise anxiety or alert, but I think it's a great opportunity to provide some information and education. But I do think it really is based on your child and what you think that they can manage. I do advise that. Be patient. I tell myself this because when kids are anxious or afraid, or this is so unknown, they sometimes demonstrate behavior that is, a little bit more challenging because they don't know how to process what they're feeling. So try not to, be patient with your children. Try to love them. Try not to, lose your temper with them. Those types of things. Read a book. If you do see higher anxiety, I would shut that TV off. It doesn't do anyone any good to worry about what we can't control.
That's true.
So, wash your hands, be safe, love your children, check in on each other, but have patience, I think, is probably the number one thing.
So let's fast forward about 8 or 9 years. I have a senior who is about to graduate. This is a trying, challenging time for seniors anyway. The real world is about to smack them upside the head. That 18 or that 13 years of education as they know it is about to end. What advice do you have for the class of 2020?
And Katy, probably holding back tears right now, has a senior.
Yeah.
My heart breaks for them. Not because they, are going to get sick or they might miss some milestones, but they also entered this world during 9/11.
They did.
So
yes.
They just have been very resilient. I guess my best word for this group is they're very resilient. They're strong. They will persevere. I'm excited to see how they can respond and model that for other generations because they're a great group. But my heart does break for some of those experiences that they still look forward to.
Jen, here's something that'll make you smile. I know they were on a group chat, and of course, they're seniors, so mom isn't going to get to see all that. But they all talk to each other. They're all on a thread together, I guess.
Yes, they are. It's a group chat room. Yeah.
Wonderful. And so I think there's some camaraderie there. And one of the girls apparently was going to go big for prom. And she went and got this extravagant dress. And my daughter burst out laughing last night. I said, "What's so funny?" And she said, "Well, she just said, if you see me walking downtown in my prom dress, it's no big deal." And so I think that through their tears, they're banding together. And those conversations are between them only, and they're special. And I think they're going to look back at that and someday and smile about, some of the things that they talked about that belong to them only. And we all remember that feeling of graduating with your class and, your cap and your gown and going, we're going to go out into the world and do this. And I feel like even though they're not going to have the physical experiences, this might make them even closer, truly.
Right.
It's interesting.
Well, and how wonderful that they can respond that way. Because I think people will bring the best and the worst out of everybody. And with this group specifically, I think they just tend to rise up to the occasion. So I'm excited about how they'll handle it. And that does warm my heart that they're doing that, because that's important. So
I can tell you from my perspective, Drew was not looking forward. And graduation, the ceremony is as much for the parents as it is, and the grandparents as it is for the kids themselves.
Closure.
My son would not care if he didn't have to walk.
Okay.
And that's that, as a parent, I want to see it. But if he's all right with it.
He's kind of over it, Dad.
He's over it at this point. So we're kind of talking in past tense almost about a graduation ceremony. Are we pretty much at the point, Jen, where we can say there will not be a gathering at the end of May?
No.
Okay.
No, I am hopeful. I am still hopeful.
Wonderful.
We are really playing it a week at a time. We haven't even canceled our, winter end of season basketball tournaments. They haven't even announced that. They haven't announced spring sports. Like, we really, really want to stay focused on what we know.
Okay.
And we are preparing for some of those things that we may have to look at differently, but we are not prepared to tell people that we're moving forward with changing any of those large events that are so meaningful for our kids and our families and the community. So we remain hopeful, but are responsible for the planning of what would happen if this closure is extended. And
that's got to be the hardest thing of all right now, to plan, to try and plan for the unplanned.
The unknown.
Right.
Jen, question, every morning you wake up, where's Command Central for Jen Brown? Where are you getting all of your information?
So various resources. So we are working at a central office right now. So we are Monday through Thursday, working 7 to 4. And like I was at food distribution this morning, so we do have that going on Monday through Friday. But I have conference calls, webinars, both at the state level and local level, that really connect all community leaders or statewide educational leaders, just to provide additional support and resources and any information that is relevant or forthcoming at that time. So that's pretty much my entire morning, which is responding to that information, communicating to stakeholders that are appropriate, and then afternoon has really been planning and preparation.
Do you talk to other superintendents?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have our own group chat, like the seniors. We support each other in that way as well.
We'd like access to those. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm joking.
Yeah. Top secret.
Yeah, that's top secret. Just like the seniors, that's top secret too.
More with Cadillac Area Public Schools Superintendent Jennifer Brown after this word from our sponsors and a weather check from Morris Langworthy on 107.9 CDY. This is Cadillac Unscripted. Buying a home is still the great American dream. And yes, it can be an intimidating process. But you can rest assured and have confidence when the professionals from RE/MAX Central are in your corner to guide you through it. Mary Ann Quist of RE/MAX Central has helped hundreds of home buyers in and around the Cadillac area navigate the process over the years, and she's ready to help you too. From start to finish, from finding a home to submitting an offer, to understanding the purchase agreement, to inspections, surveys, and appraisals, to the time when you finally sit down and sign those closing documents, Mary Ann will be there. When you're ready to buy, talk to Mary Ann Quist at RE/MAX Central. See her listings at teamquist.com. Cadillac Unscripted is sponsored by Independent Bank and Mary Ann Quist of RE/MAX Central. On to the second part of our chat with Cadillac Area Public Schools Superintendent Jennifer Brown.
So, how are your teachers doing?
They're great. They are a phenomenal group. They're resilient. I just sent them an email today to say, unplug, take a break. It's spring break officially. Let's give everyone, push pause, because I think it's important to take care of yourself and your health. So just encouraging them to, spend some time with their families, do some fun things at home like games, board games, get outside, take a walk, although today is not such a great day for that, but really to take a break, because I worry about self-care. They are really worried about their kiddos who, they're like their own children. So I think it's important to take a break from that as well. And then we can come back next week when we are still on closure, but touching base with our kids and making sure we're we're moving forward and supporting them the best we can.
Jen, so many of our listeners would hear from you or look at you and think your job is all about education. And when you talk about this meal rollout and feeding people, is our district unique in that we educate and feed and care, or is this a statewide thing, feeding families and kids and meals and that kind of stuff?
Sure. I think most schools are providing some sort of assist to families with food needs. So I know our local schools, the Mesick, Marion, McBain, Manton, Pine River, Lake City are all providing some sort of support with meals. So I know that's really important, especially when we're in rural northern Michigan, or you have a demographic of families who, qualify for free or reduced lunch. That's really important priority for all schools. So we are operating that way, and we're also, continuing with our construction and our buildings, and where our custodial crews are hard at work disinfecting all surfaces in the buildings. So we definitely have staff who are essential to making sure when we do reopen, we're prepared to provide safe learning environments for our kids. So.
Wow, that's awesome. Hats off to those folks that are in the buildings cleaning. The educational after effects of this, of kids that didn't finish all these days of school, let's say, or missed X amount of days. What does that look like?
Do you even know at this point?
That's a big question. We don't know. We are still waiting from guidance from Michigan Department of Education and really the Department of Education at the national level for guidance. I know in the press conference, President Trump just said there would be no state testing, but we'll need to wait from our state to see what that looks like. Is that suspended? Is it canceled? What would that look like? Because we are supposed to start testing that second week in April. Which, if we're back, we'd rather have instructional days than testing days for our kids. But we really are uncertain. So we are planning and preparing for seniors, priority number one, who have not met the graduation requirements. We have some flexibility with credits, but we are looking and seeking flexibility for required courses. So we have that list of kids who that may impact. That would be our probably first priority. We also have kids who've been preparing for advanced placement exams, who are in dual enrollment college classes or in 13th year. So there's a lot of layers to that question, but we are collecting all of those layers and problem solving to the best of our ability, or at least asking clarifying questions from the state so that we can provide information to those kids and families appropriately.
Wow, it's overwhelming. Now, let's say I'm a teacher and I, had this and this and this that I was going to teach, for these weeks that were missed. Coming back now, if the kids come back to school, then I've got to cover all that material and the other material, don't I? I've got to find a way as a teacher to get it all taught.
Yes.
How does that work?
Our teachers are really busy going through their curriculum to establish essential learning. So what is essential for our students to have before they were to leave us? Now,
I see.
If you look at the days we missed last year with snow and ice, we're about comparable. But if they extend to that closure, we will be working really hard with staff, and they've already, put their time into plan. They'll have to readjust and put more time into replan lessons that, really identify what's essential to be successful at the next level, and then that may roll into next year. So if we can't get that done for our K-11, we may be looking at the beginning of the year making some adjustments as well. I don't foresee a time where we retain every student or anything like that. I think that doesn't make any sense. So really waiting on guidance from Michigan, the Department of Education, before we do any of that drastic planning, but it is a possibility.
I see.
In your absolute best guesstimate, Jen, do you see the school year being extended beyond the scheduled end date?
Well, this is Jen Brown speaking, because I have been wrong at every step. So I just said, no way would they cancel March Madness. No way would they cancel school. No way. I've been wrong at every step. Like, there's no way this can happen. What world do we live in? Yeah. But I can't imagine a time that we don't come back to school yet this year. I do guess that our closure will be extended based on the increase in COVID-19 cases in Michigan. But I have to be realistic to say out loud that if this continues the course it has in other countries and across our country, we may be looking at not coming back this year. So we have to be responsible and plan for that.
I see. Okay.
It's very hard to quantify how this affects 12 different grades, you know? I mean, as an administrator, have you even had a chance to wrap your head around how that will look?
Well, that's what, I'm working with really great people, great leaders, and what the possibilities are for our students. We have some unique challenges in northern Michigan. We did a tech readiness survey to see where our kids are at in accessing virtual supports and learning opportunities. And, we're probably about 18% of our students, between, I'd say 13 and 18% of our students don't have access to internet or a device. And we can problem solve devices, but there are definitely areas in our community where there is no internet access and there's no capability for internet access. So those are real challenges to us. So we are working with district leadership, and those are teacher leaders, our directors, our administrators, and what are all the problems that we're going to have to problem solve. And we're just really, that's what our afternoons have been so far, is really trying to find solutions to those problems.
It is interesting because this would be challenge enough if the playing field were level, but it's
right.
not for kids.
It's not.
No.
Which, I think when this all is said and done and settles, I think that's going to have to be a really difficult conversation we have as a state as to what those inequities are and how do we, advance as a state in making sure that for education that the playing field is equal, because that is a real disadvantage and does create larger gaps.
I guess if there is any
economic and
if there is any benefit to this situation, maybe this will speed that conversation up.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yep.
You've got to be really strong, Jen, a strong voice for us, don't you, when you have these conversations?
Yes. I mean, we definitely have some good representation in our legislature and both sides, and I do think they are open to listening and understand some of the unique challenges rural northern Michigan poses in the way of equity. So we have to be loud, we have to be strong, we have to advocate for our kids, and we have to advocate for public education, and we know how essential that is in a democracy. So it is a responsibility, but I have great partners in that fight. So
how can folks that don't have kids in the system or grandkids in the system, let's say younger people and older people and folks that, are a little detached from CAPS, how can they support you, Jen?
Right now it's just keeping us in their thoughts and prayers, and really just checking in with your neighbors, with your family. Through this closure, I do worry about isolation and loneliness and hopelessness. So making sure that they check in with their neighbors, their family members, both old, young. But I do think that's really critical at this time, and making sure everyone has what they need.
Okay. And when folks want information about what's going on or your meals, or what's the best place for them to go to get that information? Because we want to make sure we're getting people the right information. So you tell
Absolutely.
us, boss, where do they go?
So we have a website. On our website, we're putting the most up-to-date information about available services, not just with Cadillac Area Public Schools, but within the community. We're pushing people to 211 if they have access to phone, but maybe not internet. They call 211 and they can direct them to different resources within the community. They can call central office Monday through Friday at 876-5000. But most of the parents, if they are connected, they should be receiving pretty regular emails from their teachers or their building principals. But for community members, the website's probably the best bet for the most up-to-date information.
Before we let you go, Jen, I did get a question that was messaged to us on the CDY Facebook page. You may have answered this in pieces and parts during our chat here, but Amy asks, suppose this closure lasts longer. Will students receive packets to complete for grade credit or online learning be implemented, and how long will CAPS wait to make that move?
Sure. So currently, our guidance from Michigan Department of Education is it's supplemental enrichment lessons right now. It is not for grades. It's not for accountability. It's not for credit. And that's really important because we don't have equitable access for all of our kids. And it does trigger some, some things that we would have to really dig into with students with IEPs or 504s. So there are some equity issues that we have to solve before we would ever move into a virtual environment where we required kids to make progress for grades or credit. And currently the state of Michigan won't allow us to count this time for days or hours requirements. So it's really important that we slowly move into that environment if we're capable or able to. And we are seeking guidance before we make that decision. But we are planning and collecting information to see what our challenges or barriers would be. But for right now, we are not assigning grades. It's not for accountability or progress. And we won't be doing that for at least a couple of weeks, if at all.
And I do want to point out, I know people get emails and their emails are flooded and everything, but a few days ago, you did send out as a system a questionnaire to all the parents that they really need to fill out to get back to you.
Yes, we have over 1,800 students who filled that survey out. We have about 1,700, actually 1,400, that have not, and we will resend that survey out to those 1,400 students. But it is available on our website, so if parents did not fill out that survey, it's really critical for us to have that information for each of our students so that if that's what will guide us in our decision-making for if we are able or not able to provide some learning experiences and instruction via technology.
And I will tell you, having filled that out, it takes about 60 seconds. It's really fast. It's about 4 questions. That's all it is.
Super short.
Yes.
Yeah. Super short. So.
All right.
Well, Jen, you're doing a great job, and we believe in you, and we're praying for you and your team, and we're here to help. You call us if you need us, but you're just doing a great job.
Well, thank you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to get the word out a different way. For anyone who, doesn't know what we're doing or needs additional support or help, please, I appreciate this opportunity, and we can direct them to our website or our central office phone number. That'd be great.
Before we let you go, the most visual aspect of the CAPS outreach right now is that food distribution.
Amazing.
For folks who haven't taken advantage of that yet, that need to, but maybe didn't know, would you tell us where and when that is? And the fact that it is going on during spring break.
Right. So every day between 10 and 12 at the Cadillac Junior High, Senior High bus loop, we have a team of about 20 people who are distributing breakfast for the next day, lunch for that day. On Tuesdays, we have meals being delivered using our transportation department and buses for people who can't get to us. And then on Fridays, we're distributing from 10 to 12, the same time, weekend meals. So that's for everybody, and we are really encouraging folks to take advantage of that because that is going to be paid for through federal food assistance by the meals. So we're not asking for students to come. You don't have to prove how many students you have or show ID or anything like that. We just need to know how many meals, and then we provide those meals, and you're on your way. And it's very quick. There's no extended time in line or anything like that. We have a great team doing that work.
In the meantime, stay in touch with Cadillac Area Public Schools on Facebook.
Go to their website. Yeah, absolutely.
Things are changing by the day. So this is the situation we're all in, and as long as we support each other, we will make it through this.
All right, hats off to the mighty Vikings, Jen.
Thank you. Go Vikings. Take care, everybody.
All right.
Be well.
Be safe.
All right, Jennifer Brown, Cadillac Area Public Schools Superintendent, joining us on this edition of Cadillac Unscripted, which is sponsored by Independent Bank as well as our friend Marianne Quist at RE/MAX Central.